Welcome inside the RX Muscle Studios here in Westbury, New York for another exciting episode of Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. Glad you can join us on rxmuscle.com. A special hello to our rxmuscle.com Muscle Central community, our viewers on the live stream forum, and of course, our fans on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We've been getting questions left and right, so we are about to embark on another 30 minutes of Dave Palumbo answering your questions. A quick reminder, tonight, special episode of Iron Debate. I find myself saying that almost every time we have Iron Debate. That is to a credit to those who are willing to come on. We're going to have J.M. Mannion of NPC News. He's going to be joining us tonight, so we're going to ask him some hard-hitting questions. He has promised to bring it tonight in Iron Debate. And another reminder, the Arnold Sports Festival in just 2 weeks. Hard to believe, but in Columbus, Ohio, the Arnold Sports Festival, we are going to have a live version of Ask Dave at the Species Nutrition booth. It is booth number 709. So on Sunday, we're going to have Dave Palumbo live answering your questions. You're going to have a chance to go to Dave with our live microphone audio setup, have your question bounced around the 30 feet surrounding the Species Nutrition booth, and having Dave answer them. So with that, we introduce Dave Palumbo. Dave, once again, we managed to get all our different social media platforms, all members of the RX Muscle Forum, rxmuscle.com Muscle Central Forum contributing questions. So again, a cross-platform show promised for the viewers this afternoon.
Sid, what do you think is the most popular platform for people asking questions? Have we come up with the statistics of that yet?
Well, it is by default the rxmuscle.com Muscle Central Forum.
Oh, that's good to know.
That said, we are getting some of the more funnier and creative questions on the Instagram platform, and that is one, Dave, that we saw over the Olympia weekend. Our following shot up by about 5,000 followers. Right. We're getting some really funny questions, but I want to bring you in again for the Arnold in 2 weeks. Species Nutrition has a lot of great things planned, and again, the viewers will have a chance to ask you questions on Sunday. So what is that for you? Combining your experience with the Arnold Classic and that you having a chance to have a live Q&A at the CVC's Nutrition booth.
It's going to be a very busy weekend, to say the least, as it always is at the Arnold Classic. I just want to also say I want to thank Johnny Styles for giving me a great birthday gift. He knows I'm into snakes now, and he got me this. I don't know if we probably can't get as close up on it, but I got a little cobra here on my this little new, I guess you could say, bracelet he got me. So I want to say thank you, Johnny Styles. His birthday being tomorrow, so happy birthday, Johnny Styles, to you. But let's get back to the Arnold. The Arnold is going to be fun because on Friday and Saturday, Johnny Styles and I will be busy covering the event, the live pro show. We'll also be live streaming the Hall of Fame ceremony, Dr. Bob Goldman's Hall of Fame ceremony. We have some Triple H is going to be inducted into that Hall of Fame. I think Lyndon Murray will be in the Hall of Fame. There's a whole host of people that are being inducted. We'll be covering that, streaming that live. We'll also be doing a live pregame show on Thursday night. Sid, you'll be sitting on that panel with us probably, Chris Aceto, myself. And then, of course, on Sunday at the Species Nutrition booth, we will do the Ask Dave, and it's going to be a challenge. I know, Sid, you're setting up this whole thing, but I'm actually interested to see how it's going to work out because it's very busy in the Arnold Expo Hall, so hopefully that microphone is real loud. I know I got a big mouth, but it's not that big.
Well, I did want to mention that it was your birthday yesterday, and you did post a very funny video last night from the Species Nutrition offices, you taking out the garbage at 7:30 in the evening on your birthday. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about that and what you ended up doing last night to celebrate your birthday?
Well, I worked all day. That was the beginning of the day, and then when I stay, I'm always the last person to leave, and I usually wind up vacuuming the office because I can't stand salt and all that stuff from the outside on the road. And then no one takes the garbage out here. I am the slave, or as my mother used to say, the kitchen scully here, basically. I tie up the garbage, I take it out, and I had to do it on my birthday. No, you would think one person here would have said, you know what, I'm going to take the garbage out today. I said, Dave, I don't have to do anything. But I got to the gym. To me, the gym is like going for a spa treatment because I get to release all my stress. I went to Sushi Village. I had my all-you-can-eat sushi, and then I went home, and Amanda treated me to a massage. She hired my good friend Marianne, did a great massage on me, and then it was a good day. So it was relaxing. It wasn't, a typical birthday. Usually I don't do anything. So aside from having to take the garbage out and shovel the snow in the morning, all was well.
So now we get to the questions. Again, if you want to join in, you can chime in on the Muscle Central forum on rxmuscle.com. If you're not already a member, it is free to register. You can use the live stream chat box, and that's actually where we're going to start tonight. First question, Dave, is from Chris Olson. Hey, Dave. This show makes me puke every time I watch it. My question is that for the past 6 months, I've got this issue. When I'm sitting down, my quad muscles create a wave motion. It feels like they're cramping up but never lock up. I eat super clean. I keep my supplementation simple but haven't been able to fix it. What do you think is causing it?
Anytime the muscle spasms, that's what it sounds like. It's a spasm. Usually it's electrolyte related, meaning that your potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium levels are off. A lot of bodybuilders, restrict sodium in their diet, and I don't know why they do that. Probably because we have this general consensus in our society and with doctors, you shouldn't eat a lot of sodium. Interestingly, recently, I bet about a week ago, an article came out saying that no one needs to restrict sodium anymore. I was saying that for 20 years, and finally they came out with a study that showed that restricting sodium intake does nothing for your health, doesn't reduce your risk of heart disease, heart attack, nothing. And it makes sense. Look, the more sodium you consume in your body, the less likely you are to be sodium retentive, meaning you'll decrease your sodium sensitivity if you eat more. Because the body knows what it wants. It gets rid of the extra, and it keeps just what it needs. Now, if you're on a sodium-restricted diet, or you're on a diet where you're sweating a lot and losing a lot of salt, a lot of times these spasms can be caused by sodium depletion. Very infrequently are they due to potassium depletion. The only time you really lose the potassium is if you're throwing up, maybe if you're sick. Some people tend to be magnesium calcium deficient. What I recommend is salt your foods. I like to use sea salt. A lot of people just use regular iodized salt, which is fine too because it has iodine in it, which is good for your thyroid gland. And then I recommend you take a really good quality chelated calcium and magnesium supplement. Species Nutrition produces a product called V Mineralize, which has got all 100% chelated minerals. It's got your full contingency of vitamins, antioxidants, polyphenolics. That's probably your best bet. But once again, spasming in the muscle is 99% of the time due to electrolyte depletion.
We now go to the Muscle Central forum on rxmuscle.com, and with that we say hello to Iron Brian 82. Dave, just curious as to the drugs, all drugs they use in your prime doses per week. Personally, I think drugs are so out of control these days. What was your favorite drug? Mine was the French Parabolin.
The truth of the matter is, I'm gonna give you the answer because I don't hold back answers. But I'm gonna tell you the answer, and 50% of the people listening will say, "No, he's lying. He took more." The truth was, this is what I took in my day in the 90s and into the early 2000s, and this is what most of the people were doing. The dosages that guys are doing today are insane, and they're really super crazy high. And I think that all they're gonna do is cause damage. There's a certain, I guess. Effective dosage, and then there's what people do is over and abuse. And I know what the rationalization is. People say, well, today everything's underground, it's underdosed, I have to take more. But that's not necessarily the case. So if you think it's underdosed by 10%, that doesn't mean to take 4 times the amount. So back in the day, we did 1,000 milligrams of some kind of testosterone ester per week, usually an anthate or cypionate or some sustanon. We usually combine that with 1 or 2 anabolics. I used to like equipoise a lot. I used to use like 300 milligrams a week back in the day, and then when they raised the dosages on it in the newer bottles, we went up to about 300. We went up to about 600 milligrams a week. I used to like about 400 to 600 milligrams of Decker a week. That was a nice amount. Growth hormone was in the range of 2 to 4 IUs. Usually 4 was my highest, and growth hormone came from a pharmacy back then. It was a potent. I used insulin back in the day because I was very insulin resistant, and I had trouble, retaining all the food that I was eating. I usually used about 8 to 10 IUs of Humulin R, which is a moderately fast-acting insulin, 2 to 3, usually 2 times a day. 3 usually was a little too much. I would get low blood sugar because I ate a lot of carbs, but I wasn't a crazy carb eater. I ate a higher fat, very high protein diet back in the day. And, that was pretty much my off-season stack. I would incorporate IGF-1 in there. for maybe 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 4 weeks on. That was toward the end of my career when that was available. The bottom line is training is really what builds muscle. And I know no one wants to hear that. Everyone wants to hear drugs. Would I use orals? Once in a while, I would use some Dianabols because Anadrol's killed my appetite. I could tolerate about 30 milligrams of Dianabol a day, and that was maybe in the beginning of my cycles just to help me, with strength and mass and adding a little bit more size. But orals tend to suppress appetite, and if you suppress appetite, you're not going to grow. I also found that if you took too high a dosage of stuff, it suppressed your appetite. So if anyone out there is listening and say, I have trouble eating, it could be that you're taking too much stuff. And then what happens is your immune system starts attacking the stuff, and it makes you nauseous. You get almost like flu-like symptoms. That's an indication that you're taking too much. I remember Jerry Scalise gave me some advice once. He said, look, take as much as you can until you get sick and don't feel good, and then back off a little bit. And that's the ideal dose. And for me, that was about 1,000 milligrams of testosterone a week with 400 to 600 milligrams of one or two anabolics with some growth hormone and a little insulin.
Dave, we now go to our Instagram platform, this one from XL7, and he wants to know, what can I eat outside? What fast food can I have these days? There seems to be no healthy options. I'm trying to eat clean. I'm trying to keep my weight down. I'm trying to keep my calories down. What do you suggest that I can eat when I'm driving? He also mentions that he's in sales, so he has a pretty active lifestyle driving place to place, and he's looking for some healthy fast food options.
You can eat healthy anywhere, is the truth, if you just know how to pick foods. Johnny Styles has seen me go to some pretty crazy restaurants that were really unhealthy, and I always find something healthy to eat there. So, back in the day, I was eating McDonald's. Theoretically, if you were dieting, I tell people, if you're on a contest diet, low carbs, you can go to McDonald's and eat. You can get a salad, you can get, 2 Angus burgers, half-pound Angus burgers, and put them on the salad, and you can eat a protein-fat diet, if you want to. Having said that, probably the healthiest place to eat, and the place I used to take the most advantage of back in the day, especially when I was too lazy to cook, was Chinese food places. Chinese takeout places is awesome. You can get, we order it to the office all the time. I get white meat chicken with white sauce on it. I like the white sauce. Sometimes I get it on the side if I'm being really healthy with steamed broccoli, mixed vegetables. I get brown rice, and then I put the white sauce on it. Now, back in the day when I was super strict, I would get the steamed vegetables with the steamed chicken, and then I would put like soy sauce on it and maybe a little mustard and mix that in. I would eat that like 4 times a day sometimes. So there's no excuse when you're on the road. There's always a Chinese takeout place someplace. You can get shrimp, you can get scallops there, you can get even steamed beef there. The steamed beef in Chinese doesn't usually taste that good, but there's so many options, shrimp. So I don't want to hear anyone tell me that they're on the road and they don't have a place to go eat.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com. Reminder tonight, Iron Debate with J.M. Mannion chiming in as the special guest. We go now to our Facebook page. This question from GOR. Dave and Sid and Johnny, this show is so bad I can't stop watching. Dave, what's the proper advice on taking GHRP6 for hunger issues? Is 60 mcg the correct dosage?
It's funny because back when peptides first came out, and what peptides basically are is they're short sequences of proteins, okay, or amino acid sequences that mimic hormones. So, like, what they found was that the growth hormone releasing hormone, which is a hormone that our body naturally produces in the hypothalamus of our brain, will normally stimulate the pituitary to release growth hormone. Well, they found that they can mimic these hormones by getting little sequences of peptides or amino acids, same thing. And by injecting them, you can get your own growth hormone release from these. And there's different versions. There's GHRP6, there's GHRP2, there's CJC 1295, there's hexarelin. There's so many different ones out there, and they all pretty much do the same thing. They stimulate the pituitary to release growth hormone. For some reason, and I've experienced this because I've tried it, GHRP6 makes you crazy hungry, like almost like marijuana munchies. I don't know why it does it. Maybe because it's stimulating a part of your brain that's causing the hunger, appetite centers to be invigorated in some capacity. I found that at about 200 to about 250 micrograms a day or per dose, you'll get that hunger effect. Now, what I recommend for guys that are like off season is to take it twice a day. So you always feel hungry, because a lot of guys have trouble eating in the off season because they just can't jam down enough food or shakes. This certainly helps. It's a natural alternative. It's much better than doing marijuana, that's for sure. Obviously, it's got some performance enhancing effects as well. Would I compare growth hormone effectively to GHRP in terms of effectiveness? I think growth hormone's way stronger, but the appetite effects of the GHRP6 are definitely noticeable.
We go back now to our Instagram page, and if you're not already following us, it's Instagram.com. Our handle is official_RxMuscle. This question from Kayla Raymond. Dave, for someone trying to build muscle, what is the best time to do cardio? I've heard first thing in the morning, before weight training, and after weight training. Not sure which one is the best. Also, how much cardio do you recommend during the off season?
To build muscle, the best time to do cardio, I guess, would be any time. It doesn't matter, really. It's really, the question is, when is the best time to burn fat? And that's usually in a depleted state, either first thing in the morning before you eat or after you weight train, because those are the two most depleted times that you would be. Now, if you're in the off season, you're not really trying to lose body fat, but you're trying to just maybe keep your appetite a little stimulated with the cardio, or maybe trying to keep, stay in some type of cardiovascular shape. You're probably better off just banging it out right after your workout. It means do your weight training, do your cardio, and then stop. I wouldn't do anything too high intensity in the off season, especially if you're trying to add muscle, because that's going to obviously draw away energy and I guess you could say, muscle mass if you go too intense, and we don't want that to happen. So the best time to do it would be probably, like I said, after cardio, because once you start exercising too many times a day in an off-season scenario where you're trying to grow, you're going to cut into your resources that your body is using to repair muscle.
There we go back to the live stream chat box. And we thank you for joining us on livestream.com. This question from Stephen McGowan. Hi, Dave. What's your opinion on intermittent fasting for fat loss, specifically 1 or 2 meals per day?
Obviously, you might lose weight because you're not eating as many calories, but is it going to be good to retain muscle mass, lean muscle mass? Probably not. Intermittent fasting, the way I interpret it and the way I sometimes participate in it, is 12 hours out of the day I eat, 12 hours out of the day I don't eat. And I do it for detoxification purposes because it gives my body a better chance to detoxify. But I'll eat all my meals in the 12 hours. I'm not just doing 2 meals. So I might, if I was competing, I would do my 5 or 6 meals in the 12 hours. Every 2 hours I'd eat. So that might have some place in fat loss and health. But if I was trying to maximize lean muscle tissue, and I was in the midst of my contest prep, I would not go 12 hours without eating, because now you're risking your body cannibalizing muscle tissue. So it all depends on what your goals are. If your goals are health and fitness, then yeah, probably intermittent fasting is not a bad idea if you can go 12 hours of eating, 12 hours of not eating. If you're trying to maximize muscle gains or retain muscle in a pre-contest situation, I wouldn't go more than 6 hours without eating, to be honest with you.
Let's go back to the Muscle Central forum on rxmuscle.com. Dave, and this one is from Jin314. Dave, I have a question about HGH and insulin. I train 2 hours after breakfast, 6 whole eggs, 3 packet of instant oats. 30 minutes later, 2 scoops of Isolyze mixed with carb drink, another 100 grams and 10 units of Humulin. I wanted to know what the best times to take the GH, before breakfast or wait 90 minutes and use it as a pre-workout.
I would just wake up and take it, to be honest with you. I'd wake up, take your growth hormone, and then go about whatever you're going to do for the day. That's probably the best bet, unless for some reason you're getting low blood sugars in the gym, and then in which case you might want to take it after the gym. But most people, it's fine. They get up, they take their growth hormone shot, if they're going to eat their breakfast or whatever they're going to do. Now, probably if you're going to do cardio and a fasting on an empty stomach in the morning, I'd probably do the growth hormone after the cardio, just because it might drop your blood sugar a little bit, and you don't want to get low blood sugar while you're doing cardio, obviously.
So let's go back to the Instagram page. Dave, huge fan. This one is from Strain and Gain. Dave, huge fan of the show. Clearly hasn't gotten the memo yet. And happy belated birthday. Was wondering if you had ever tried combining Anadrol and Dbol for kickstarting a cycle or blast. Been reading some more quote-unquote old-school methods concerning stacks and heard there may be some synergistic effects. Any weight to this theory?
We never, back in the day, no one ever combined Anadrol and Dianabol. It was like almost like the you don't do that type of thing. It's too toxic, and plus, you know what? We always wanted to keep the receptors fresh, so we would use either Dbol or Anadrol. I never used Anadrol, to be honest with you, more than I think I once got through 4 weeks of it. It would kill my appetite so bad that I couldn't do it. And then a couple times on contest prep, I would try it because I figured, well, I'm always hungry anyway. And you know what? I just never felt good on it. I always felt like run down, and I could tell it was toxic to my body. I probably wouldn't recommend doing Dianabol and Anadrol together. It's almost like overkill. Now, back in the day when we used to come up with these, we would write out these crazy cycles we would try to figure out. Sometimes guys wouldn't want to take injectables, so they would do Anadrol and Dianabol as a synergistic orals only, type of cycle. I don't think people got very good results, but I'll tell you why. Because with orals exclusively, you get blood levels that are all over the place. They spike when you take the oral, then a couple hours later it drops. So you never really have consistent blood levels. Whereas with injectables, your blood levels are consistent. So usually if you combine an oral with an injectable, it's good. But two orals together really don't give it. You kind of get weird moods and you get drops and ups. And so I wouldn't recommend using them together. I would pick one or the other.
Let's go back to the live stream chat box. Good friend of the show, Mo. Dave, is there any specific food to increasing vascularity? Does milk thicken your skin?
Vascularity is very genetic, I have to be honest with you. I always had veins everywhere, even when I was a kid. They were thinner, but I had a lot of veins. And I know people that just only get a couple veins, right when they're the most lean. So, that has to do with genetics and how thick your skin is. So what could increase it? Probably a high sodium diet would increase it. Obviously, when you have a lot of volume in your blood, you're going to see more veins. Glycerol, anything glycerol based will increase them. I never saw a person win a show because of having a lot of veins on stage. I have seen people win shows because they have great muscle separation. Okay, and that's what's important. Don't confuse being very vascular with being very lean necessarily. Because I've seen when I was 320 pounds, I was vascular. It didn't mean I was in contest shape. I think that's an important distinction to make. And what was the second part of the question?
Let's pull it up. Oh, yeah, milk. Does milk make your skin thicker?
I don't like feeding dairy to bodybuilders, especially pre-contest bodybuilders, because a lot of people are lactose intolerant, and their immune system tend to interact with the lactose molecules, which makes them hold fluid. So I don't think it makes your skin thicker. I think it can make you a little water retentive, though.
Let's go back to the Muscle Central Forum at rxmuscle.com. This question from Rock240. Dave, Dr. Jim Stepani says that zinc interferes with copper and amino acid uptake, and calcium interferes with zinc, iron, and manganese. What are your thoughts regarding this with your V-Mineralize?
I think that when you take everything in the right ratios, in the right amounts together, you're not really going to inhibit one or the other's absorption. I don't buy into that. I think if you took an isolated study and you probably took one mineral or another mineral and you combine them, that they probably combine to each other. And I think that that's probably how a lot of these studies are done. And obviously I'm not looking at the study that was done, so it's hard for me to comment on it. But I've never seen anyone have any any mineral deficiencies when they take a complete chelated mineral product on a regular basis. Because I have so many clients that send me their blood work, and their blood work is always fine. I never see any mineral deficiency. So, could there be a study out there that showed interaction? I'm sure there can. You could pretty much prove anything with if you really set out your mind to do it. I don't necessarily believe that that's the case.
Let's go back to the Instagram page. This question from another good friend of rxmuscle.com, Ash Belge. Dave, I hate your show and it just sucks the life out of me. Artificial sweeteners, what are your thoughts on them? Do they retain water?
I don't think they retain water. I do know people that have used so much artificial sweetener when they're dieting because they're just sugar craving that they've given themselves headaches, and that they might have screwed up their intestinal tract a little bit where they get a little bit of like diarrhea and stuff like that. Remember, excessive amounts of anything are no good. I truly believe that artificial sweeteners are fine. There's no deaths linked to them. There's no lawsuits against these big companies. I think the problems arise where people have weird problems, or maybe even neurotransmitter issues in their brain, or not feeling right when they're using excessive amounts. I know people that have had problems with excessive amounts of stevia, which is an herbal natural sweetener. So, do I think like sucralose and equal are bad for you? No, but I think that I don't think anything should be used in excess. The good thing about these artificial sweeteners is that they're so sweet that you only need to use very small amounts. So you're drinking a Diet Coke, for instance, it's got a minute amount of artificial sweetener. Now, if you're drinking 45 cans of diet soda a day, now you're starting to build up, larger amounts. So I think it's all in moderation.
You're watching Ask Dave, sponsored by Species Nutrition. If you want more information on Species Nutrition, go to speciesnutrition.com. Again, we're going to be at the Arnold in 2 weeks, booth 709. This show you're watching right here, Ask Dave, we're going to be having a live version from the Species Nutrition booth. So you're going to have a chance to line up, ask Dave a question, have Dave answer your question live in front of the live audience. We go back now. Actually, we now check in on our Twitter feed. Again, if you want to join in with our Twitter live stream, you can use the hashtag AskDave to ask your question. This one from Keto Life Limited. Dave, how important is nutrition as part of a cyclist's performance?
I think any elite level athlete, nutrition is paramount. Number one before the training, number one before the supplements. Nutrition is, you are what you eat. It's the old, cliche, but it's true. I mean, cyclists, if they don't eat enough protein, they're not going to recover from the brutal workouts they're doing, because a lot of these cyclists are out there 5-6 hours a day. Likewise, if they're not fueling up with the right amount of carbohydrates, they're going to become glycogen depleted, and they're not going to be able to perform at an optimal level. So, nutrition might even be more important to a cyclist than any other athlete because of the length of time that they're on the bike. To me, I mean, I was cycling in the summer and in the fall about an hour, sometimes an hour, 20 minutes a day. I mean, that was the limit. I'm like, I don't know how these guys can stay out here another 4 or 5 hours, because, I mean, everything hurts. You're completely depleted. You get dehydrated really easily out there. It's a science to keep yourself well fueled as a long endurance cyclist, and I take my hat off to those guys.
Dave, we go back to the Muscle Central Forum. Actually, we have a couple of questions after this with two people, one who wants to challenge you to a debate, and the other, if you would be willing to challenge somebody else to a debate. This question from Fabian on the Muscle Central Forum. Dave, if all PEDs are made in these underground labs these days, where do the pros get their gear from? Seems like there's a lot of bad stuff out there, and I'm sure pros wouldn't risk using that cheap stuff, or would they?
Underground lab just means it's made by someone, not, a pharmaceutical company. Doesn't necessarily mean it's bad quality. You could have a really good underground lab that has great quality stuff, and you could have underground labs that make real cheap quality. Let's face it, there's good businessmen and bad business. There might be some guys out there that are trying to save money and make money off of bodybuilders, and they're underdosing the stuff. There may be guys out there who want people to buy their stuff, so they're overdosing the stuff. So it's hard to determine what is good and what's not. Obviously, if you have access to pharmaceutical stuff or real quality stuff, I think that's always the best way to go. Obviously, if you live overseas in Europe or in the Middle East or even in India, they have obviously access to pharmaceutical grade stuff, because they can just go in the pharmacy and buy it there. Is that an advantage? Yeah, to a certain degree it is. If I was still competing nowadays, back in the day we used to get pharmaceutical stuff from Europe, but if I was competing, it would be tough. I'm glad I don't, almost, because there really isn't anywhere to go. Obviously, you can go to a rejuvenation clinic, but they're not going to give you the dosages that you need or that professional bodybuilders are going to use. So it is a tough environment out there to be a professional bodybuilder these days.
All right, so Dave, these next two questions, as mentioned, will come in the pose of a challenge. So the first one is from the live stream, live chat box from user Goodrum. First question, will Dave return to covering smaller shows, and would he be willing to outsource the work to independent contractors? Also, would Dave be willing to challenge me in an Iron Debate episode?
Vince Goodrum, my old nemesis. You ever watch Seinfeld? How Seinfeld would be like, Newman. I'm like, Goodrum. First of all, as far as contest coverage goes, we will still be covering the big shows. Obviously, we're going to be at the Arnold We'll be at FIBO in Germany. We have a sponsor for that. We have two sponsors actually for that. We'll probably be at the USA Nationals. As far as small shows, if promoters bring us in to cover them, we'll cover them. We're going to be live streaming a few of the Oklahoma shows this year, as we did last year. Those are smaller shows. There'll be a few other events that we're going to be covering that I have some photographers going to and giving us the pictures. We'll be covering the Arnold Australia, even though I won't be out there because I have a photographer. So yes, we will be covering some contests on a I guess you could say, need-to-know basis. And Vince, you don't need to know. No, just kidding. We will be covering those. As far as debating the one and only Vince Goodrum, I would be happy to debate him on any topic, anywhere, anytime. But Vince, if you want to come on our debate and you're going to be serious and you seriously debate, I will welcome you to come on the show. No problem.
So the next question, a secondary debate question. We go back to our Instagram account. And this one from _Morgan_Rice_. Dave, why won't you debate Lee Priest on your show?
I would debate Lee Priest if Lee Priest wanted to debate. I don't know what he would want to debate about, but he could certainly come on the show. As long, the only time I wouldn't get someone like Lee Priest on, I'm not looking to smear the NPC IFBB. That's not my goal. My goal is to promote the organization. The reason I love bodybuilding and I'm passionate about it, and I know all of us here are, so we're not looking to smear things. I'll bring up controversial topics to debate to see if we can make the organization better. But I'm not looking to say this guy sucks or he's corrupt. That's not going to help the organization grow and become a better organization. So if it's going to be a positively tinged debate, I'd be more than happy to have him on and to debate him. If it's not, if it's going to be something, a vehicle to smear, the organization, then I'm not interested in that.
So we have two more questions, and the last one is controversial. It does not have to do with the bodybuilding world, but it does have to do with performance-enhancing steroids, performance-enhancing drugs. This question is from a Facebook user, a good friend of yours, Dave, Vanessa Adams Pierce. Very short question: boxers or briefs?
Neither. I wear boxers to bed. I wear very skimpy briefs. Okay. I wear almost no back briefs because I got big butt. I rip my underwear too easily. I hope that answers your question, Vanessa.
All right. Johnny Saws better be ready to clip the answer to this next one because this one has to do with recent events and it has to do, Dave, with baseball. This one coming from user Anthony17. So I'm guessing he's a Carmelo Anthony fan. A-Rod's apology yesterday. How rampant do you think steroid and PED use is in baseball? And is A-Rod being used as a fall guy to cover the usage in the rest of the sport?
Well, we can go back and say, Lance Armstrong was disqualified from all his Tour de France winnings. Does that mean that all the other guys were clean? No. No way. I believe in baseball. I can't make a statistical call because I don't know everyone, but I would say more than 50% of the baseball players use some sort of illegal banned performance-enhancing drug. And I think it's probably way higher than that, but I would say at least 50%. Because there's still stuff that's untestable, and that's just the nature of the beast. If you want to recover and you want to play at an elite level where millions and millions of dollars are being paid to these athletes, they're going to find a way to do it, and I think that A-Rod is a big name, just like Lance Armstrong was, just like Roger Clemens was, and Barry Bonds was. So, of course, they're going to go after those guys because they want to make an example of the big-name guys so that the small-name guys will get scared. And that's the nature of the beast.
We actually just got a follow-up, Dave, to that question from Anthony17. It's a good follow-up. How far back do you think performance-enhancing drugs goes, considering how everybody considers the Babe Ruth era to be the clean, golden era of baseball?
They used stimulants back then. They were using amphetamines. Don't forget, remember when Coca-Cola first came out, it had real cocaine in it. I mean, if you drank one of those before you played, you're cheating according to today's rules. So performance enhancing has always been rampant. Athletes will always look for a way to get an edge in some degree, some way or manner. I'm sure when Dbol first came out in the 60s, or 1959, I think it first came out. I'm sure athletes were experimenting with then, but no one knew about it. It maybe wasn't as rampant, but there were always people using and trying and experimenting, and that's just the nature of I guess you could say, technology. Pretty soon, people will be getting implants in their arms that enable them to hit the ball like a bionic implant where they can hit the ball farther. Believe me, it's only around the corner. I guarantee it. They'll be putting circuits in their brain that allow them to focus better or see more clearly. That's the nature. To me, that's exciting. Technology is exciting to me.
One last question. This one from HJP on the live stream, live chat box. Dave, will we ever see John Romano on RX Muscle? Will we see him on Iron Debate?
I'd love to get John on Iron Debate. I think he'd be a great debater, and I think that could be an upcoming episode at some point. If we got the right topics and he was up for it and wanted to do it, why not? I think it would be a nice homecoming for him to see him and get some of his opinions. Like I said, as long as it's done in a constructive way. Like I said, I'm not looking to disrupt anything. I'm just looking to promote. And, obviously with the changing of the way the magazine structures are, magazines are going out of business. A lot of athletes are being dropped because the I guess you could say the circulations are down. This is the vehicle, live TV program. I said it. Johnny and I have been talking about this for the last, couple of years. This is the new vehicle that people want to see. People want to watch their stars, they're the people that they look up to, and they want to hear what their opinions are, and they want to hear it live, and they want to hear it, from their telephone or from their computer screen, or now people can watch the internet on their television, and that's what we're promoting here, and we're trying to do it in a positive manner.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Ask Dave. A reminder, tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, an all-new episode of Iron Debate with special guest J.M. Mannion. He is going to take on Chris Aceto with Dave Palumbo on the final word. Special thanks to our producer, Johnny Styles, doing an excellent job as always. We will see you at 7:30 p.m. right here on rxmuscle.com.